So, Dave Rubin is a political commentator that I don't think I've ever really brought up on this channel. Maybe once or twice. I don't think I've ever really done a video on him. And this is a video on him, but this isn't going to be like an in-depth video on him. This is in response to his appearance on Jubilee, which has been making I wouldn't say waves. I haven't seen a lot of people talking about it, but I just kind of wanted to watch it for myself. Just to really see. I wasn't planning to until I saw Majority Report talking about it, and it's just so bad. And we're not going to watch all of it, but we're probably going to watch like 2 parts of it. There's been one part that's been going around where he just gets absolutely clowned on. We'll have to find that. As well as the part where he debates Mason, this guy right here, who is very... I don't know if famous or infamous is the right term, but he's very well known for being on Jubilee. He's a leftist. He debates a lot. I like him, even though I'm not a big fan of debating. I think, at least when it comes to like online debating, it feels more like blood sport than actually being productive. So I just don't really care for it, but whatever. I still like him. I think he's a good debater, but we'll see him somewhere in this video. But before then, I wanted to bring up some other stuff that's been going on with Dave Rubin, because this has been a part of a comeback campaign, might be the best way to describe it, for Dave Rubin. Maybe like a comeback tour, but mostly because of the poor reception to this video and just the weird way he has been acting in a desperate way, a very obvious desperate way to regain any sort of relevancy that he once had. He's just doing and saying anything. He's doing this, even though he is not a good debater, as we will see later on, and he is willing to make any sort of claim just to create controversy. But we'll get to that in a little bit. But essentially, the TLDR for Dave Rubin is that he is a conservative political commentator. I believe he once was part of the Young Turks before doing a right-wing grift. And he essentially, for a good while, was just kind of like the guy that a lot of conservative commentators could point to be like, hey, look, we have a gay man that agrees with us on certain issues, so that means that we're right and that we can't be homophobic. But I feel like we're kind of at a point where the right doesn't really care all that much about like identity politics anymore, in the sense of like, you know, they always will say like, oh, we don't want identity politics, but like it's very obvious that when you look at when like the Daily Wire was a big like a big media company within the right wing commentary space, compared to where they are now, where they are demonstrably not. For a bunch of people that complain about identity politics, they sure loved to do it when it was for their side, and you could see that with the Daily Wire. Like, you had Ben Shapiro, a Jewish man, you had Candace Owens, a black woman, that they would point to be like, look, we're not racist, we have a black woman under our employ. You had Brett Cooper, like a young woman, and Dave Rubin, even though Dave Rubin wasn't a part of the Daily Wire, I think, but he was like in the circle. He was in the circle of like commentators within that right-wing space. It was like back when they were on good terms with Steven Crowder. Like, even though they weren't a part of the same company, they realized that in order to really push forth their right-wing agenda, even if they weren't really associates within a company, they had to like work together. But now they just don't care about that. Now, like, the modern right-wing figureheads online are like Asmongold. You know, it's Chud the Builder. And even then, they're pretty new in terms of like right-wing figureheads. Like just like a few years ago, it was Andrew Tate and Sneeko that Ben Shapiro and these guys were losing their relevancy to. And now, like, there's the fracture on the right too, with like Tucker Carlson and Marjorie Taylor Greene. But essentially, it's just kind of like getting away from what it was. And like, Dave Rubin was always a bad figurehead to begin with, because he was so obviously stupid and grifting. So like, out of everyone, I feel like he's fallen the most, because he's just become completely irrelevant. Well, at least with like Ben Shapiro, he still has some of that name value, where you'll hear someone talk about him every now and again, especially when CNN continued to give him those like lifelines of like, hey, we'll bring you on to our program just while your company is falling apart. But like nobody's gonna do that for Dave Rubin, because like you're not gonna be able to get anything out of that. But in his desperate plea to stay relevant, he has resorted to making outlandish lies about Hassan Piker. And this was like the first thing that I really saw before I heard that he was doing this Jubilee video. And it's just completely disgusting. I'm only really bringing this up just to point out like how desperate he really is. And this took place on a podcast that this guy Xavier, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but Xavier, this guy is a fucking demon, by the way. This guy right here, he's a fucking demon. This guy has literally taken like Israeli propaganda videos, essentially like mocking aid, going in for the Palestinians and shit like that. Like, this guy's a straight up fucking demon. This guy is completely disgusting. So it's not surprising to me at all that he would run with this very obvious lie and try to promote it in a desperate attempt to stay relevant for both him and Dave Rubin. So, as the tweet says here, Dave Rubin clocked future inmate Hassan Piker. Anna Kasparian, is it true that Hassan Piker actually harassed you while at the Young Turks? We would like answers and are ready to defend you, skinny diva. Jesus Christ. So let's just allow the clip to speak for itself.
In the office with them when they brought in Hassan, and he was awful. Everyone there. He harassed every girl there, constantly talking about his genitals. He was just awful. They basically made him work from home because he was harassing all the girls and wouldn't stop, including Anna. She'll never admit that now. I don't even care about it.
I don't even care about that. Like, you know, he harassed Anna Kasparian and she would never bring it up. Jesus Christ. This is like such an obvious way just to stay relevant that you're just making up complete bullshit. And Anna responded to this, saying Hassan Piker should sue Dave Rubin for defamation immediately. I was never harassed by Haas sexually or otherwise. This huckster is literally making up actual harassment allegations and pretending to speak on my behalf just to defame Haas. It's so sick. And then Dave Rubin literally responded to this, Anna, you literally told me they asked him to work from home because of all the actual remarks he was making to you and other females there, and you couldn't believe that was the punishment. Maybe you blocked it out. But that's what happened. He's literally trying to like white savior her. You may have blocked this out. Like, you may have just completely, they may have mind wiped you. But this is what happened. Everyone knows that when a woman is actually harassed, they just completely block it out. When they get harassed, it actually results in their mind completely being wiped. Especially if it's done by a Turk. It's a Turkish secret that if you harass a woman, it will automatically be erased from her mind. Jesus Christ. How down bad that you gotta be to do this sort of shit. To try so hard to create any sort of buzz around your name that you go as low as to make up harassment allegations by dragging in a woman who at every turn it's just like, no, this didn't happen. And to still try to seem like you're the, you know, the savior of all this, being like, oh no, it definitely did happen, and you just forgot. You just forgot about your own harassment. You forgot about the harassment that was done to you. It's literally like, quiet woman, you don't get to speak on how, you don't get to speak on if you were harassed or not. I do. I get to speak for you. Jesus Christ. But yeah, moving on from that. That was just a little side quest we went on to really show you how desperate Dave is for attention. It's only that sort of desperation that I feel like could drive him to do this, where he just straight up looks like an idiot. Okay, so we're gonna try to find the parts that I want to cover, because again, we're not gonna watch all this. It's a fucking hour and 41 minutes. Definitely not gonna be sitting through that. Okay, so I found the Mason part, and it's in the first claim here. Wokeism did more damage to America than Trump ever did. And I just want to say, if you're still using wokeism in 2026, it really shows that you have not evolved from your right-wing rift outside of like 2016. Like, it really shows that he has not really evolved his strategies since then. It feels like he's very much stuck in that era. I don't know. There's just something about like hearing wokeism instead of like what it usually would be called now, like, or what it would be called like probably a year ago, which is like DEI and shit like that. So yeah, let's just watch this part where Mason just destroys him.
Oh, she had it. She had it. All right.
Dave.
All right. Hi.
Good to meet you.
You could tell that when like he saw that Mason was gonna be the one to sit down, because he didn't even run, he just walked straight up to it. But you could tell as soon as he came into Dave's eyesight that he was just like, oh man, I really just want someone else. Please, anybody else, this guy's gonna do me in. Because he's like, Mason has done a lot of these. I could only imagine that Dave more than likely knew about him in some sense. And here's the thing. So this I learned from Mason's appearance on the majority part where he was talking about this. And apparently, as someone who has been on Jubilee a lot, he says that when it comes to these sort of videos, they won't tell you who the person that you're going to debate is. Obviously, they plan these out in advance. You know, they have to like schedule it. But the people that Dave is debating, the people in the circle, they have no idea who they're debating until the day of when they show up. And what's so funny about this is that, well, first of all, Mason even said himself, he was like, oh, I knew that I didn't really have to formulate that much of an argument because Dave is such a bad debater. And also that despite the fact that he definitely had a lot of time to prepare for this debate, he definitely didn't. He definitely did not plan carefully for this debate.
Yeah, I'm actually a big fan. I've been watching you since like all the way back in the Sam Harris era.
Oh yeah.
And then I remember you
softening me up. Okay.
No, you brought
okay.
on like Stephen Molyneux, like the white nationalist, and I was like, this guy just loves ideas. He just loves all
I'm an ideas guy.
different types of
I just
ideas. I love it. But yeah, just wanted to talk right now specifically about the difference between progressive values and the MAGA.
Oh, so you think we should just like kill all, people of color? That's a very interesting idea.
Coalition.
Sure.
It seems to me that all of the ills that are attributed to wokeism are typically things that people find annoying. So people being overly, policey about their pronoun usage or talking about specific groups that might seem extremely marginalized. That's what I typically hear from the right. I don't hear like a degradation of like society unless it's the far theocratic right. And I don't think that you ascribe to that. Would you call yourself a theocrat?
I mean, I wrote the best-selling book on classical liberalism, so it's funny. I get called a conservative all the time. I actually happen to be a liberal in the truest sense of liberal.
I'm a true liberal. Everyone says I'm a conservative, but I'm a true liberal.
You should join.
I also just like looking at the title for this video: One MAGA Republican.
Unfortunate. And progressives are not liberal as a general rule of thought. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I just feel like that type of like annoyance that wokeism presents to the world is a lot less dangerous than like, I don't know, the coalition that you're a part of that like condemns people for having children when they're in gay marriages, or says things like, people that are of particular sexual orientations don't deserve the same equal rights.
And going back to, Dave being a gay man on the right, when he announced publicly that he and his husband were going to adopt a child, every single one of like his cohorts, like his essentially coworkers, were just like, this is bad, this is wrong, you should not be doing this. So it's like, and this dude will spend like so much time defending these people and being like, no, they're right, and they're constantly shitting on him. He's a fucking cuck for the right-wing commentary sphere. These people who utterly hate him and spit in his face constantly, but he's like, but I had them over for dinner once and they were nice. Well, they actively advocate for his rights to be taken away as a gay man. And we'll get into that later because that is something that the other guy that I want to react to will be bringing up, at least with his connection to Michael Knowles.
Did you say that that's something that's
a
dangerous?
coalition is going to have all sorts of people in it. So
it's like
MAGA, if we were talking
ideological
about
diversity.
We have to bring Nazis into our coalition.
Yeah, if we were talking about what MAGA is, what I like about MAGA actually is that it's not a specific set of you have to believe this exact set, right?
Right.
You have to believe
so
these exact
some people in MAGA can
things.
believe like gay couples can have kids, and others can believe like that's degeneracy and those people need to be jailed.
Well,
those are like the difference of ideas. That we're
well,
talking
actually, the tough answer to that is yes.
Oh.
As long as you're not trying to litigate someone's life. I am around a lot of conservatives all the time, and I
Right.
particularly
But if you don't want that stuff to happen, why would you actively side with those people? Like, I understand needing to make compromises when it comes to forming political alliances sometimes. But like when it's something that big and something so drastically opposing one another, why would you even do it? Especially if you're someone who is going to be impacted by the harm that comes from that opposing side. Why would you? The reason why Dave does it is because money. It's because it gives him money, because he is a grifter and he doesn't actually care. He doesn't care. It is like Ben Shapiro writing for the Trump administration, writing for fascism, as if he is not going to be placed in one of those camps. Like, as if he is not going to be in the camps with us because he is Jewish. And the same with Dave. Dave rides with this stuff because he doesn't think it's going to affect him. He thinks he's going to be one of the good gays. You're not. They showed you that. They showed you that when you were like, hey, me and my husband, we have this happy family with this kid that we adopted. And they were like, no, bad. You are terrible. What you're doing is wrong. They showed you that. They showed you to their face how monstrous they are and how much they don't care about you. And you're still riding for them.
Christian conservatives, let's say, they generally are not for gay marriage. By the way, there's not one mosque in the United States that performs gay marriages, which is worth noting.
Why are you so focused on Muslims today?
Well, I'm just giving you
gotcha.
giving you a fact. But what I have found consistently, Donald Trump was the.
All right, let's look. Are there any mosques that do gay marriages? However, a small and growing number of progressive Muslim communities and organizations, particularly in Western countries, have begun to challenge this stance, advocating for inclusivity and performing same-sex marriage ceremonies. So at least we found one sort of example, but he said none, so no. Track that.
First-time president that was for gay marriage.
I actually really want to talk about
Barack Obama was not for gay marriage when he first came in.
And not until 2013.
So what I would say is the MAGA movement, I mean, look, Scott Bessent, who's the Treasury Secretary, is married to a man and has kids. Peter Thiel is married to a man and has kids. Douglas Murray is one of the greatest voices we have in conservatism, happens to be gay.
Yeah.
I don't, for the most part, people on the right actually believe in individual rights and don't really care. But that doesn't mean
that's where you've lost me, though, because
that doesn't mean that everyone has to have the same religious perspective on everything.
But you've been around the block for a long time, and just like you alluded to, in 2016, Trump held up a flag that said LGBTQ for Trump. He was asked in a CBS interview, would you let Caitlyn Jenner use the bathroom that she wants to in your hotels? He said absolutely. He didn't have a problem with that.
He actually gave a better answer than that. He said, I'm a hotel builder. If you told me I had to build one bathroom, that would be fine with me. I think it's a great answer.
But that's what's crazy is that evolution has changed so much to the current MAGA movement. The MAGA movement today, Donald Trump would absolutely not say that somebody could use the bathroom aligned with their gender identity. He specifically banned that. And not just that, but he's also just called for, he specifically wrote an executive order that classifies far leftist groups like pro-transgender groups as a danger to the country, which often the entire military can go after. That is insane. That is absolutely a violation of
On May 6, 2026, the White House released its new U.S. counterterrorism strategy, which explicitly names violent left-wing extremists, including anarchists and anti-fascists such as Antifa, and radically pro-transgender groups as security threats, alongside cartels and Islamic terror. Jesus Christ.
people's individual rights.
All right, so you want to talk about the trans issue sort of broadly, I
want to talk about the MAGA coalition that claims to be pro-individual liberty, yet wants to police the way that people express themselves.
But what are they doing?
That also wants to police people's bodies, that want to go after people specifically because of their ethnicity.
Right.
None of that should be
Okay, so
tolerated.
Donald Trump is in the middle of his second term. Gay marriage is here, it's passed, it's a just
Then
cause.
why are
For now.
so
in
many
individual
wait,
rights.
wait, you're friends with Michael Knowles, right?
Yeah.
So
Oh, okay. I guess it was Mason who actually brought this up.
what's that coalition again called? I think it's like Less Equal. That's trying to actually get rid of Obergefell and overturn gay marriage rights. Does that not concern you?
Well, first off, I've never heard of that specific organization. But what I can tell you,
You're friends with them.
Michael is part of. I just don't know what you're talking about. But what
You
I
can
would
look it up right
but
now.
what I would
It's
say
called
is
Less Than.
no.
and
There
it's
are,
live-
He's not even talking to Dave anymore. He's just like, you at home, you could look up this coalition that Michael Knowles is a part of.
Rose, Michael
Yeah.
Knowles. I think it's what's that guy's name at the Daily Wire, the head one?
but okay, but that's not Donald Trump.
I understand that you
That's-
want to go away
no,
from this.
No. That's not
topic.
Donald Trump. That's not the head of the.
No, he is constantly trying to run away from this. Also, yeah, of course, Donald Trump would be anti-gay marriage as soon as like it became more popular within his base. Obviously, he is audience captured in a way. Like that's the whole funny thing about like Dave's argument is that it's not getting to gay people yet. Like they're targeting trans people because they see that as a safe target to go after. But once they are done with trans people, who do you think they're going to move to next in terms of people that they deem to be sexual deviants? Do you think it's going to be just like pansexuals? Like they're just going to focus on pansexuals? No, they're going to go for gay people. They're going to bring in all the letters together. All right? And you're not safe.
Party. I have friends that. Well, first off, Michael and I are friends, but there is a cap on our friendship. There
How are
actually
you
is.
friends with someone who doesn't want you to be in love,
No,
my man?
He doesn't want me to be in love. He's had dinner
Look,
at
Dave,
my house with his wife. My husband cooked for him.
That's against God.
Yeah.
So I want to have a
But
word
but,
with him.
but no.
real quick.
But think about what you're saying.
Dave, real quick.
Think about what I'm saying.
But what I wanna
in
say is
your
I'm
name.
not
Wait.
coming after you.
Hold on, champ.
Hold on, champ.
In
Hold on.
your world of how tolerant you are showing me you are, you're actually showing a remarkable amount of intolerance because although I don't know the group
You're
that
being intolerant towards this Nazi who doesn't think that me and my husband should have children. Also, like, what does that say about Michael Knowles? What shouldn't that tell you about Michael Knowles? Like, I already brought this up, but just to repeat it again, this guy is willing to smile in front of your face, act like friends, but when it comes to the political message that he spreads, he essentially goes against everything that makes your life your life. Like, he doesn't think that you and your husband should have children, and he doesn't even think that you and your husband should be married or even be allowed to openly express your love. Like, your friend is trying to force you back into the closet, and you're just like, but I had fish with him one time.
you're talking about, Michael Knowles.
Imagine if a black man told you, he's like, yeah, this guy's in the KKK, like my friend is in the KKK, he thinks that all black people are like demons sent from hell, but you know, we had a nice dinner one time.
As a human being, has been to my house.
That makes him
and
okay.
My husband has cooked him lamb, and we have enjoyed.
Sorry, it was
evenings
lamb,
together
not fish.
and
My bad.
shared personal moments and all of those things. Now, do we agree on absolutely everything? Of course, the answer to that is no. And if Michael or anyone else was trying to lead some organization that was going to go against my civil rights, well, that is where obviously we would have our difference of opinion,
really,
of course.
Dave,
That's where we would have our difference in opinion. We can have difference in opinion even though he thinks that I'm a abomination of God.
But I also respect people's religious beliefs. They're allowed to have their religious beliefs. Their religious beliefs are not allowed.
He's like, yeah, spit in my face more, and tell me that I am scum.
Legislate my life. This is all very separate from the trans thing, which obviously I sense is going to come up a few more times today.
I'll just say real quick, I'm not trying to come after you. I believe that you should have the full liberty to have the family of your choice.
Yeah.
But what I will say is I'm glad Michael treats you with respect individually when you guys are together. But when he goes in front of his platform and says that a video of two gay men having a child is the most disgusting thing that he's ever seen, which is a quote, you can look up the tweet. Michael said that that child is in one of the most dangerous situations he can think of, which is crazy to think of all the abusive parents that actually live in this society, regardless of sexual orientation. And you're going to look at a happy family and say this is.
On April 16, 2026, Michael Knowles posted on X that a clip of two gay men in Nashville with the baby they had via surrogacy was the most horrifying video I've ever seen in my life. On April 17, 2026, he released a YouTube video about the couple titled, "This is the most horrifying video Michael Knowles has ever seen." Yeah. And Dave Rubin's response to that is like, but he's a nice guy though. This Nazi, he's so nice.
Is disgusting.
We had lamb
That
once.
should feel like a violation.
Okay, so I didn't see that video, but if what you're asking me is do I agree with, let's just say what you said is true, do I agree with Michael's point on that? Of course, the answer is no.
But that is the MAGA coalition.
No.
Dave. That's what I'm saying.
No.
That is the ideology.
No, that's not
in
the
which
No, that's not the
that is.
No.
Let's look up. I remember there being something recently. Conservative support for gay marriage. Okay, I might have to look on Google instead. In May 2026, okay, there was a recent one. Okay, so yeah, this is Republicans, 35%. For Democrats, it's 81. Independents, it's 64. So yeah, literally Republicans are the only ones in the majority of being like, no. And it was 56, 2022. But in the last, literally like, Jesus Christ, like such a huge step from 2022 to 2023. It was rising and now it's continuing to drop. So yeah, once again, Dave is fucking wrong. And also Bing continues to prove that it is a terrible search engine.
No, that's not the coalition.
That is what the administration is pushing
you're taking
towards.
a very specific person and you're saying...
Is it a small specific?
Oh,
is it
absolutely, yes.
It's 35%. Only 35%. Well, not... then it would be 65% of people who don't support same-sex marriage. So Dave is actually in the minority of the conservative opinion.
Yes, it is.
A majority
on this issue.
No, that's completely absurd. That's
is
completely
not.
absurd.
It is, because you are professionally wrong.
We got to pause there. You've been voted out by the majority. Please
Give me
return
two.
to your seat.
You have been voted off of the island. Okay, so yeah, that was the Mason part. Now we're going to get into the other part. Where is it? This one. If you still vote for Democrats in 2026, you're voting for broken cities, broken schools, and broken borders, whatever. Again, I feel like this is rhetoric that even, the laziest Republican grifter is getting away from. Okay, so this guy is the one who's going to be debating him. His name is Parker, and he absolutely destroys him. Oh.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, how are you?
What is one main metric that Donald Trump has made better off since he got in office? So like an example would be GDP, unemployment, inflation, etc.
Well, right now, first off, the big beautiful bill was just passed last year.
Big beautiful bill.
It's kicking in now, right? It's kicking in now. Okay, so we're going to now see results of that, like even the tariffs. All right, so let's do tariffs. Are you for or against tariffs?
Against the universal tariff. So what's the main metric that he made better off?
What?
What's the main metric that
He was just like, the big beautiful bill, it just started, really affecting everything, even though it was signed like a year ago at this point, but the big beautiful bill, it takes a while because he didn't want to answer, because it's nothing, really.
that he made better off? GDP, unemployment, inflation? Do you have any
Or at
idea?
least there's nothing that Dave can successfully argue that this guy can't pull apart.
Listen,
He's already crumbling. It's barely been a minute since this guy sat in the chair and he's already crumbling. Like, listen, let's not talk about this. How are you doing? He just tries to talk casually to him.
listen.
I don't think you do.
Do you think? Hold on. So you're arguing that things
Hold on, champ.
economically were better under Joe Biden
At the end of his administration, absolutely.
Yeah. So can you give me an example of how?
Yeah, GDP growth was better off. Real median wage growth was better off. Inflation was better off at the end of his administration. Unemployment was better off at the end of his administration. We had the worst year of job growth in the past 4 years, just this last year under Trump's administration. The inflation, 3.8% year over year since Trump got in office. We're seeing all of those economic indicators become worse off. Can you tell me anything that he's done to make it better off? You say it's broken for Democrats. It sounds like it's broken right now under Trump.
Have you looked at the stock market?
It's worse off in terms of the growth in 2020.
Why aren't you thinking about the billionaires? Why aren't you thinking of the rich people in this case? Why are you so worried about what the average person is seeing in terms of success from this? Yeah, working man. Why don't you care about the stock market? That's such a desperate grab to get any sort of victory from, even though most people, regardless of what party they belong to, are going to look at that and be like, why should I care about the stock market? Why? Do you think some random contractor in the Midwest is going to care about what Goldman Sachs is up to, what their stocks are going up to? All they care about is how much does oil cost right now, and they are hating it. They're not liking it. That's their main concern, is just how much do I have to pay at the pump? And they aren't exactly happy. Some of them will still, roll around like the dogs that they are for the Republican Party, or mostly for Trump. But they don't give a fuck about stock price, man.
25 as compared to 2024. If you look at Dow Jones and S&P 500,
they're both up quite a bit right now,
but lower
doing
growth
quite
rate.
well. You know, things don't happen overnight. So Donald Trump, for example, things don't. That's true.
Oh my god, he's really just like trying so hard to weasel his way out of this conversation.
There's reality. There's actual reality. Like you.
GDP growth, Trump 2025 2.2%, Biden 2.4%. Inflation, Trump 2026 3.8%, Biden 3%. Unemployment, Trump April 2026 4.3%, Biden 4.1%. 2025 was Trump's worst non-COVID year for job growth. True. The S&P 500 returned 16.39% in 2025, which was a decline from the 23% to 24% growth seen in 2024. Also, apparently, again, we're not watching this whole thing, but from what I've heard from other people and Mason as well, when he was on the Majority Report, is that apparently this is like one of the most fact-checked Jubilee videos of all time, and it doesn't surprise me.
Put policies into place and they don't just kick in the next day, right?
Well,
Donald
it's been
Trump,
a year and a half.
Donald Trump said when the tariffs.
He said in a year,
Hold on.
prices would be down 50% for electricity. Are they up right now?
Hold on. Donald Trump, when he brought in the whole idea of tariffs, would you agree that for the last 4 decades, we have had completely lopsided trade deals with all of these countries where they're tariffing and taxing our products that go to them, and they're getting sweet deals when they sell to the American public? Do you think that's a fair...
Didn't Trump address that with the USMCA, but he went against that when he didn't extend it through the context of his new trade agreement because he wanted to place tariffs on all of them again. And his tariffs that he's placing on are destroying our relationships with countries all around the world.
No,
it's costing... Wait, please finish.
When you say destroying relationships...
It's costing consumers here in this country. A Federal Reserve report just came out, indicated that we'd be below pre-pandemic levels of inflation if Donald Trump never imposed the tariffs in the first place. Meaning we'd be able to bring down interest rates and we'd be able to increase investment within our economy and bring more jobs back.
Hold on. When you say destroying our relationships with other countries, well, other countries were getting...
A 2026 Federal Reserve analysis finds the Trump era and renewed tariffs have raised core goods prices by about 3.1% and add roughly 0.8% points to core PCE inflation, meaning inflation today would likely be much closer to the Fed's 2% target without those tariffs. So yeah, literally his tariffs got in the way of a decline in inflation. He literally shot himself in the foot just to spite these foreign countries. And again, he doesn't have an argument for this, so he just has to repeat Trump's bullshit claims of being like, well, they were getting sweetheart deals. I'm gonna be honest, I don't necessarily give a fuck when we are the superpower of the world and these countries, and we rely so much on these countries. Like, we really do. In terms of a lot of goods, America doesn't really produce much when it comes to like outside of trucks that we can't even sell to other countries. Like a lot of like Ford trucks we can't sell to like Japan or the UK because their roads aren't fucking built for it. Like the only stuff we really build here is stuff that only Americans could really use. Like we're not providing any sort of like necessity or like necessary good for like other countries in a big bad way, as opposed to like what these countries are offering to us.
Sweet deal, right? If Canada, which was charging crazy taxes and tariffs on our products that were going to them, and we were basically charging nothing back, how can we sell to their market? So if they're upset with us, right? So China is a little upset with right now. Upset with us. We're trying to get fairer deals. Canada, obviously under Carney, is upset with us because we're trying to get fairer deals. Donald Trump is trying to reset things. We're
already essentially like the bully to the world, where we will bully any country into submission. I mean, we're literally doing that right now with Iran. But as soon as we get a little bit of pushback, or we're just like, we're immediate crybabies. That's what America is. We're just like, or we continuously see ourselves as the victims while we are constantly bullying other countries.
The world's piggy bank for the last, it's really basically post-World War II, and Donald Trump is trying to...
It's just a small little powerhouse country. It's just the little world superpower. We're being taken advantage of by these little countries.
Reverse that so that we will have fairer deals. If you told me that it was just zero across the board and there were no tariffs going any which way, I could completely get on board with that. But as long as countries are going to treat us unfairly, often while we foot the bill for their defense or a series of other things, and we give them foreign aid and everything else, well, then we should have equal playing field.
Yeah, I don't think that should be the case. I don't think we should have any influence on any foreign country. I don't. Yeah, maybe me and Dave are in agreement there. I don't think that should be the case. The only thing is that Dave doesn't actually believe that. Republicans don't actually believe that. And honestly, establishment Democrats don't agree with that either. They believe that we have to have these things in place to control them. They want the control. So like, if we're gonna impose our will so much on these foreign countries, yeah, they should be able to tariff us. Like, we're already getting something in return in terms of influence in that region. So who gives a shit if they're just like charging us a bit more? If they're placing tariffs on us, like, who gives a shit? Like, we're already seeing benefit out of that. That really doesn't benefit the average person at all. It just benefits the people in power. But like, with these tariffs on these smaller countries, the only people who are facing any hardship from it is average Americans, is the middle class workers, and the poor class as well.
Going both directions.
What better deal did he get?
What?
What better deal did he get?
What do you mean? Several countries have already come back, and
Name any of the conditions that made the trade better off. Give me the specifics.
Canada, I think they had something like a 60% tariff on cheese, literally on cheese, that was being sold from America, from Wisconsin to Canada. And that basically is zero right now. That's one
Basically, so what
little
is it?
example. I think it's zero right now.
Okay, so
I
that's
think
a
it's zero
targeted
right now.
tariff, not a universal tariff.
Yeah.
Can you name one?
Canada did not have a flat 60% tariff on U.S. cheese. That's now basically zero. Under USMCA, U.S. cheese gets expanded duty-free access within quotas, but Canada still applies steep over-quota tariffs of about 245% on cheese. The protection was not reduced from 60% to zero.
One country that had a universal tariff on us?
I think there are several countries that
Name
did.
one.
I think there are several countries
Name
that
one.
did. Honestly, I'm not sure, but I think there are several countries that did.
Okay, so why are we placing
that
universal- so then why don't we
zeroed
place
out
it-
the tariffs.
so then why don't
I
we
think
place-
Argentina did, if I'm not mistaken. I think Israel did. I think a few other countries did.
Why don't we put a proportional tariff?
Another one. The United States introduced broad reciprocal tariffs in 2025, a baseline 10% and higher levels for deficient countries that apply to many trading partners, including Argentina and Israel, while those countries still largely operate under normal WTO or FTA-based schedules toward U.S. goods, with ongoing negotiations to reduce non-universalized tariffs. So, again, wrong.
On them the same that they put on us so that we can negotiate that down. It doesn't seem like Trump's looking for
Because
that.
his argument is like, hey, tell me one country that has these universal tariffs on us. Dave mentioned Argentina, Israel, and they don't even fall under that.
What do you mean?
Trump's-
That's
Trump's-
exactly
hold on,
what
and
Trump
again,
did.
Let me just clarify. The tariffs are being paid by our consumers. So Trump, while trying to get his deals, is making inflation go up and making it worse off for you at the grocery store, worse off for you at the gas pump, worse off
do
for
you think
you
we
when
should
you're
just-
trying to buy a house.
yeah.
So can you, again,
Well,
like
not
we
really
went over
for
before.
Dave. Dave's fine because he has all that grifting money. Or who knows, maybe it isn't, because you could only imagine that bank is running low. Because like, who the fuck is really watching Dave Rubin nowadays? When I was doing a bit of research with him, I would use research lately. I really just looked up what his YouTube channel was doing. He has like 3 million subscribers, but he's only getting like 10,000 views on his episodes. He's doing pretty bad. Like, that's not good numbers for the amount of subscribers that you have, that you're not even able to pull in a third. You're pulling in like not even. Let's do some quick math here. Okay, so let's do 10,000 divided by 3 million. It's not even 1%. It's not even 1%. It's less than 1%. He's not even getting 1% of his subscriber base to watch his videos anymore.
Name
Sure,
one
you're-
metric that
I'm not
Trump's
sure-
made better off
I'm
since he
just
got
not
in
sure of
office.
the premise of what you're saying, because do you think we should just have free trade with everybody without any penalization
I thought you were
going
like
either way?
libertarian. Don't you want
Yeah.
free trade?
No, that's what I'm saying. So,
Okay.
so I think you're agreeing with me. What Donald Trump is trying
he
to
has
do
an
is
overall decreased tariffs.
He's trying.
The Supreme Court did more to decrease tariffs than he did.
It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah,
They're
you keep saying that.
negotiating these things.
Have we done anything in his office yet?
Yes.
What?
Yes. Scott Besson every day is negotiating with these other countries. You think that
I
he
think
can
the
just,
negotiations are worse off with the JCPOA. We have less political concessions right now than we had a decade ago under the JCPOA. So tell me, what political concessions have we got with the war with Iran since Trump started it?
Well, right now, Iran literally exports no oil. Every day they are losing $500 million. So what you can do over time is you have a million.
Iran is not exporting oil and it is not losing $500 million a day. Recent tanker tracking data cited by the Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, and others show Iran exporting roughly 1.5 to 2 million barrels a day and earning around $100 to $150 million in oil revenue per day. Oh my God. Jesus Christ. He really didn't prepare for this at all. He did not prepare for this at all. Jesus Christ. What are the replies saying? For comedy purposes, I hope Dave never loses the confidence to debate. To celebrate Pride, Jubilee runs a train on Dave Rubin. I don't know how Dave's husband agreed to his partner getting railed like this. Dave getting passed around like a blunt in this one. Jubilee is like an abusive relationship I keep coming back to. Dave Rubin versus the Jubilee fact-checking team. Dave says something, fact checker, he's wrong. Oh my God. 1 egg versus 20 oh my God, this one's great. I love this one. This is like that scene in Airplane where everyone is lining up to take turns slapping that woman. 1 snail versus 20 pounds of salt. Oh my God. This feels unreal. It should be 20 Dave Rubins versus 1 liberal toddler to balance out the levels of intellect. It's not a war, it's a 40-day military operation. 30 seconds later, things happen in war. Okay. Oh my God.
Military adventure, which we had 40 days, which we took out their Air Force and their entire Navy and everything else, and now we completely control their
None of those were
economy.
concerned. What's the political concession since the beginning of the war?
What's the political concession
Yes.
from Iran since
Yes.
the beginning of the war?
Yes, name one.
Well, we're having negotiations with them right now.
And we haven't gotten anything?
We're having negotiations with
nothing.
them right now.
So nothing.
Well, we're in a negotiation
We've been
process.
in a war
you
for
can-
2.5 months now. We got
you-
no political concessions.
for 2.5 months? How long do you think wars are
A decade
supposed
ago,
to
we
take?
had a limitation in terms of them enriching uranium.
I don't know. Fucking ask the president. He constantly switches of how long it's supposed to take. Some days we're winning. Some days we're close to winning. Some days we're almost to winning. And we've been almost winning this war with Iran for like 70 days now. Jesus Christ. Maybe 80 or 90. Jesus.
To 3.7%. That was going to be in place until 2030. It would still be in place to this day.
Again, we
if Donald
started.
Trump didn't fall out of the JCPOA.
We started with this. They admitted they were enriching past that point.
After the JCPOA.
Steve Witkoff said 2 or 3 days before the war started that they admitted they were enriching more. Also,
when Trump
you have
pulled
to,
out of the
you
agreement
also,
and
you
then
also
the
have
original
to,
strike that we made a year ago,
you also have to,
they haven't been building up
you also
since
have to
then,
go on the
according
assumption.
to DNI.
Why is it that? Why is it that you? Why is it that you believe? Why would you believe the Iranian theocratic regime? Why would you believe that they are doing right?
That's the director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, appointed by Donald Trump. So explain to me why you don't believe her.
Listen, Marco Rubio.
Oh my God. The dude knows that he has won everyone over. That he's just absolutely destroying him. So that little look over being like, he can't defend it. I love it. I love playing to the crowd. It was the same with like Mason looking directly into the camera, because like at some point you have to realize like there's no real point in debating Dave Rubin because he completely destroys himself. Like he is so bad at debating, he doesn't need to debate someone to lose. He could be debating himself. He could just be doing what he normally does, just talking into a camera, and he would still lose on every single point that he brings up. Jesus Christ. So you might as well just like make a show out of it. Really just play it up for the audience of being like, yeah, this is light work. He's an idiot. Like if I'm, someone in the conservative commentary space, I would be so pissed off right now because this just shows how weak a lot of their arguments are. And at the very least, some of them are able to spin their takes in a certain way that is able to convince people that they're in the right or that it is a reasonable take. But Dave is so bad at what he does. He is so bad at grifting, despite it being his entire career, that it comes across so obvious. It's so easy to demolish it and dismiss it that you can just ham up the performance.
Marco, hold on.
Why don't you believe the entire U.S. intelligence committee? Why do you think they're all lying?
So, are you saying that Donald Trump just ignored the entire U.S.
Yes.
intelligence?
Yes. Yeah. He Of course he did. Of course. I believe he fired Tulsi Gabbard for this reason, because he didn't like that she was saying was going against his propaganda.
No, he
Literally,
didn't.
that's what he did.
No, he didn't.
Yes.
That's it. That's okay. So that's an interesting
What?
disconnect that we have. I mean, Marco
Then why do
Rubio.
they contradict each other?
Marco Rubio very clearly laid out what was going on here. And by the way,
Tell me.
Donald Trump
'Cause he
and
contradicted Trump, too.
Donald Trump and every president for the last 40 years has said that Iran will not get a nuclear bomb. Right? Every president has said that. Joe Biden.
Oh my god, I fucking hate this talking point so much because, like, yes, every president has said it. Yes, Trump is the one to actually do something about it. But first of all, we have Obama. Like, he had the deal with Iran that Trump completely got rid of. And also, it's bullshit. It's fear-mongering. That's all it is. This shouldn't be like a point of contention. It's only really there to serve as a distraction for the American public. Of like, don't pay attention to the stuff we're doing. We're focused on the scary Muslim threat, essentially, is what it is. So no, it's complete bullshit, and it only works because we had dipshit Democratic presidents like Joe Biden who continued on with this tactic, and with like Kamala Harris during the DNC, where she was spouting like, oh, we must go after Iran, it is a threat. It's a distraction. It's a distraction, so you're not paying attention to what the US government is doing to you and your families, how they're making your lives worse. And the thing is that with the way that Trump is doing it, he's doing it so obvious. It's so obvious that he is only doing it for a distraction that it's just not working. Like, a good amount of his base went along with this at first, but as time is going on, they have seen him constantly repeat the same things over and over again about how we're almost going to win, and they just stop believing it at some point. And there's still a contingent there that believes in him, but over time, less people are falling for it because they see that their gas is going up. They see that their grocery cost is going up. Yeah, it's always been bullshit, but Trump has done it in such a way that it makes it so much more obvious of how it's only been a distraction.
Said no. Remember, Kamala Harris said no
Yeah,
or
the JCPOA
don't.
limited
Right?
it to a greater extent. Why didn't you address that point?
Again, you are going on the assumption that you can trust these random inspectors that are going into these places.
IAEA?
Literally,
They're
yeah.
not random
Yeah,
inspectors.
all
The
right.
IAEA is the International Atomic Energy.
With all due respect, I think
That's
I think that trusting some of these international things that they somehow have America's interests or the West's interests in mind, I think is a kind
No, we should only trust people who will say things that make us feel better. We should only trust obviously biased sources.
of faulty. It's just a faulty premise, I would
So
say.
the international actors that are
Yeah.
lying. They don't
Yeah, well,
actually
do you
have
think-
legitimate
you-
surveillance over their nuclear enrichment.
It's really just the right-wing philosophy of like, we should only treat people who will only say yes to us. And I mean, we see that with Donald Trump all the time, whether it's his first term, the second term, hell, even in between terms. He will get rid of you as soon as you don't fall in line. As soon as you tell the truth and report things accurately, he will get rid of you. If you're not falling in line with his lies, boom. Or even if you do fall in with his lies, he will still get rid of you if it makes him look bad. Which I believe that's what he did with Pam Bondi, that woman who just fucking I believe it's Pam Bondi, right? I would have to see a picture of her to know. Yep, this was the woman who like completely dropped the ball on the Epstein hearings and was like making it so obvious that this was a cover-up that Trump literally had to be like, you're gone.
facilities?
No, they don't.
Okay, so
they
that you
don't.
think-
They have.
What
What do you mean? They were
evidence? We gotta
buried. They were
pause here,
buried
guys. We
under.
gotta
They were
pause.
buried
We're
under
running out of
mountains.
time.
They
Okay,
were
yeah, that's it for this video. I think it's very obvious how bad Rubin was. I really didn't even need to make this video or comment at all. I feel like it would speak for itself. It's just so sad to me how desperate this man is to become relevant again within the sphere of the commentary space, but he is so unwilling to get good at it. He's so unwilling to put any sort of effort into it. So I think this is the last we'll ever see of it. Like, how do you salvage your career after this? Like, the only traction this video got were people just completely clowning on him. That's it. That's all it was. It's just people completely making fun of him, being like, this was so bad. He obviously did not prepare at all for this debate, which is so funny because obviously he did, because it takes time to really schedule these things out and plan these things out ahead of time. He obviously had more than enough time, because it's not like he's popping off right now. It's not like he is like really has a pack. It's not like a lot of people really want to see Dave Rubin, so he had more than enough time on his hands to really prepare for this debate, and he didn't at all. But yeah, that's about it. I'll see you all next time.